This is a quote from a book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. He writes this in the section about conquering laziness. He says, laziness brings hunger, like falling tiles bring pain. So it's almost like he's describing how these two things, laziness and hunger, they go hand in hand. You could say that. Listen to that sentence again. Laziness brings hunger. So when we think of laziness, I don't want to just talk about like couch potato or someone who doesn't want to exercise or do anything physically strenuous. I want to look at the root meaning of the word lazy, because lazy has to do with language, communication. It has to do with like not being able to express yourself. So I want to kind of break this down into two different parts. First one is the physical part. Okay, let's start with that. When you are physically lazy, what does that mean? That means that you're probably not taking care of your body. You're probably overeating, doing too much recreational drugs or drinking too much alcohol. You're probably not exercising, right? You're not being active. And when you're not active, you're probably going to be overweight, out of shape, and as a result of that, you're going to feel bad about yourself, right? If you're overweight, if you're unhealthy, most people feel bad about themselves. I remember reading this article years ago. I think it was in Sports Illustrated about NBA players who got injured, like major injuries, and they came back after a year or two and they were 30-40 pounds heavier. I'm like, what is this? They said, well, we had all this time off. We weren't playing basketball anymore. We didn't have to train, so we just ate whatever we wanted and drank whatever we wanted. And sure enough, they put on 30-40 pounds. And then they come back and now they're slower. They don't have the endurance. They don't have the strength. They can't run up and down the court for 48 minutes. And as a result of that, they're not playing as well as they did before they got injured. If you really want to understand how laziness works, think of a guy who decides he wants to eat fast food the rest of his life. Let's say he's 20 years old. He's perfectly healthy. He says, screw it. I'm just going to eat McDonald's the rest of my life. What happens? Well, first, he starts feeling tired and lethargic. He feels gross. He gains weight. His muscles atrophy because he's not exercising. He gets winded going up the stairs. He gets winded walking up a hill. He can't keep up with people he used to be able to keep up with. He can't participate in sports or activities that he used to be able to participate in. His health insurance goes up. He gets sick more often. He has less energy. He's bored. He's depressed. He doesn't have the stamina. He gets winded. And the list goes on. All of that is physical manifestations of being lazy. Now, there's another type of laziness that has nothing to do with your body. It has everything to do with your mind. This is the type of laziness that makes you feel like you're not accomplishing anything in life, like you're wasting your potential, like you're not living to the best of your abilities. You have this huge vision of who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do with your life, but you're not doing any of it. Maybe you don't even know what your potential is. You haven't discovered it yet. But you feel like there's something more than what you're doing now. And if you've ever felt that way before, you know how horrible that feeling is. There's this like huge gaping void inside of you that nothing seems to fill up. You can try partying more. You can try sleeping around more. You can try getting more money. You can try buying a new car or a new house. You can try losing weight. You can try gaining muscle. But nothing seems to fill that hole. It's always there waiting to be filled. And you feel like you're not doing anything to make progress on that. There's two different types of people. One is the person who tries to accomplish something, fails, learns from their failure, and adapts, and then tries again. Then there's the person who sees an obstacle and says, screw it, I can't do this, right? There's the person who reads a book on how to start a business, goes out and starts a business, fails, learns from their failure, and adapts, and then tries again. And then there's the person who reads that book and says, screw it, I can't do this. Now, which one of those sounds like they're going to accomplish more in their lifetime? Which one of those is the driven, highly motivated, successful person? And which one of those is lazy? The answer is obvious. The person who reads the book and then starts the business even though they fail is still further ahead of the person who reads the book and does nothing. Even though one of them is a success and one of them is a failure, the failure is still further ahead of the person who didn't do anything. You may be thinking right now, wow, this sounds depressing. You're telling me that even if I fail, I'm better off than if I just do nothing. And that's absolutely true. That's what this book is saying. But that's not depressing. That's exciting. Think about how many people out there who have never accomplished anything because they were too lazy to try. And you can rise above that. You can be better than most people simply by trying. If you try and you fail, so what? Most people will never accomplish anything in their life because they don't even try. They're too afraid of failing. They're too lazy to pick themselves up and dust themselves off and try again. And that's how most people live their lives. So yes, it is true that the road to success is paved with failures, but it's also true that the road to success is only traveled by people who are not lazy. Let's get back to the quote. Laziness brings hunger. Like falling tiles bring pain. Now, I've already talked about how laziness brings hunger in the sense that when you're lazy, you don't accomplish anything. You don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel satisfied. You feel hungry, like there's a void inside of you that needs to be filled. But that's not what this quote is talking about. When the author says laziness brings hunger, he's talking about how the emotion that you feel when you're lazy is hunger. When you're lazy, you're hungry. When you're lazy, you want to do something. Now, that might be to go to the couch and watch TV, but that's okay. Sometimes you need a break. You need to relax. But the difference between the person who's lazy and the person who's not lazy is that the person who's not lazy can relax without feeling guilty about it. Think of it this way. When you're lazy, whether physically or mentally, you feel guilty. So you say, well, I feel guilty, so I should probably do something. And so you get up and you go to the gym, or you go for a walk, or you go for a run, or you clean the house, or you work on that project that you've been putting off. Whereas the person who's lazy says, well, I feel guilty, so I should probably do something. And then they lie back down and continue watching TV. That's why the author compares this feeling of hunger to falling tiles. Falling tiles bring pain. When you're lazy, when you feel lazy, you feel pain. It's that simple. Being lazy is painful. But the good news is that being lazy also brings hunger, which is the desire to do something. And that hunger, that desire to do something can be channeled into a productive activity. It can be channeled into something that moves you forward. And that's where the difference is. So next time you feel lazy, ask yourself, am I feeling lazy or am I feeling hungry? Because if I'm feeling hungry, maybe I can channel this into something positive. That's it for today. I hope this video helped you. If it did, please leave a comment below. I love reading your comments. I appreciate you watching this video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.